Now, on the Bloomberg Advantage, your small business advantage.
The reality is we've seen small businesses expanding for about the last 3 years, and the financial risk is incredibly low right now.
What I've done all my life is music. It was a natural progression into the company.
Small businesses prefer a yes, and they can even accept a no, but maybe kill them.
There's so many people that have ideas, and it has to be more than that. It has to be making it real.
When I started this, it was just in my apartment, and I just had big dreams, and I just come out of NYU, and I said, I want to start a company. We're going to take over the world.
The Bloomberg Advantage, small business in focus on Bloomberg Radio.
Small business in Boston. That's where we go now. I'm Kathleen Hayes, Bonnie Quinn, and I broadcasting live today at the 2015 Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce annual meeting at the Boston Convention and Exhibition Center. We've got Woody Benson with us from Prism Venture Partners. You know him well for his weekly segments on the show. And we are now going to look at our Small Business in Focus segment brought to you by T-Mobile, changing the way business does wireless. With the Simple Choice plan, you'll get straightforward haggle-fee pricing and 24/7 support from a dedicated business account team. Switch your business to T-Mobile. So, Woody, because you are here and you're our special guest host for this hour here in Boston, why don't you introduce our next guest? Because you and he have a long history together now.
Well, we have a long history together, and he apparently, Mike Norton is a marketing savant for naming your company Where's Woody, which I've got to give you a lot of credit for.
Naming it after you.
Naming it after me.
But we should say you don't have any investment or financial
no, I'm just a paying customer. I've bought some clothes. But Mike is part of this new breed of companies and entrepreneurs that are building companies and creating brands in the clothing and apparel business. So, Mike, welcome to Bloomberg.
Thanks, Woody.
And tell us a little bit about Where's Woody.
Well, as you mentioned, at the core, we make great clothes. But there's a lot of companies today that do that. But two other elements of our brand that we're building out that make our brand unique, we think, is our distribution and marketing model. And it's all wrapped around our mission for diabetes.
Well, let's back up, though. First of all, Woody doesn't refer to Woody Benson. That's not where the name came from. Just give us a synopsis of how this all started, because you started kind of almost accidentally, really fun, and Woody refers to a vehicle.
Yeah, it does. An old Jeep Grand Wagoneer, a 1990, which many people think is a 1974 model because it looks that dated. But it's kind of funky on the outside.
And it was yours?
Yeah. I bought it several years ago, and I started on Cape Cod hawking flip-flops out of the tailgate, and discovered very quickly that people dug the great presentation. The idea that you can
what
move
is that?
place
Is
to
it
place.
because it's one-to-one and you're explaining it, or the flip-flop had its own personality?
Or the cool car.
Or the cool car. Like, what was the je ne sais quoi?
You know, I asked that question to myself all the time. Was it the truck, which was funkily wrapped in a very retro kind of Cape Cod and Islands type of throwback? Was it the brand that we carried, which is a global brand called Havaianas, which was willing to partner with me to be able to launch this marketing program?
Flip-flop makers.
Yeah.
That's a big deal to hook up with Havaiana.
Yeah, they bought my pitch, and we went out and we sold about 1,000 pairs in about 25 days. Just did it on the weekends, and as many startups begin, it was an experiment. And it was really to prove the point that, one, was it, to your point, Woody, was it the flip-flops because it was a well-known brand? Was it the truck? Was it me, perhaps?
Okay, so no answer there, but basically you put yourself on the spectrum between preppy and surf, somewhere more surf than Tommy Bahama, and a little less surf than something like Rip Curl.
Yeah, well, we think that we're kind of an edgier brand. From a preppy perspective, that's very popular right now. So what we do is we give it a little bit more pop and personality.
I love to ask this because you've talked to a lot of guys like you. What are the attributes of the brand? Like, what's the persona of the brand?
Well, it's first and foremost, it's all themed around our funky beach ride, which, as I mentioned, is kind of a 1970s throwback. So our clientele has been 30s, 40s, and 50-somethings that really dig that childhood memory that they had. So there's that element to it. There's the vintage aspect. Like I had just mentioned with regard to the preppy lifestyle, it's somewhat conservative, but we throw in a little surf.
Now, does preppy mean high price?
Yes, it's an absolutely premium brand. And what's very interesting is originally I had thought that price point selling out of the tailgate of an old truck would need to be lower. But what we found is that, and we're still climbing the ladder in terms of our price point, is that when you make a great presentation, you make a great product, people will pay for it.
But you see, this is what I never understand. Because when we have these conversations about pricing, it always feels like they're divorced from the actual materials, the input costs, the labor, the audience. It sounds like you're pulling a price out of nowhere when you explain it, when you say it like that.
Well, I think it's a bit of an experiment, obviously, but my assumption early on was, again, that much like I think food trucks had to deal with when they were young, it was not gourmet food as it is today. And we've learned a lot from that industry. Food is perhaps more of a necessity than clothing in the way we're approaching it. But what we discovered is that you can have gourmet clothing at a premium price sold out of a truck. And that is clearly proven. Our core T-shirt line, which is our nuts and bolts of our product, is at $34 retail. Yeah. And it holds a candle to anything that's on the market.
Now, what if like tomorrow we did a little experiment and marked it up to 65? You'd only have to sell half as many. What do you think would happen?
I think that we would, I continue to be surprised. So I think that's, and we're always, as a very lean, experimental type of mindset company, we would definitely try something like that. But, I perhaps in some respects, we say that where we're going to extend our line and add lines is going to be upmarket.
Now, do you just sell
I do have to point out, though, that it's 65% gross margin already. So.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it always brings me back to this article in Spy magazine with the amount of advertising dollars per Lexus sold.
That's right.
I think the average dollars per Ford sold is like $400 per car, but per Lexus sold is like $5,000. So you are essentially buying into an aspirational brand that they play back to you, and that's what clever marketers do.
Right. And
now, I'm sorry, you don't just sell to consumers out of the Woody.
A big part of our brand in building it are those touch points directly with the consumer. On wheels we call it, and then online. But we are wholesale as well.
So you're a wholesaler out of the car to retailers?
Correct. So what we do is as I did just last week on the Jersey Shore and some of the nicer towns down there, we drive it down, we support our retailers, we deliver the product, and we do what was once called a trunk show. We call it a tailgate show.
A rack robin.
How many vans on the road?
We have one right now. We're going to have an alternative set up this year to test whether or not we actually need more trucks. But the plan is to scale to 5 in 10 markets.
I want to find out more about the diabetes aspect, your mission there. We had yesterday the founder of Intarsia Therapeutics on the show, who has an implantable pump for diabetics. It's an amazing device, but this is a big deal for you.
In fact, it's funny you mentioned Intarsia. A very good friend of mine from Babson is involved with that company. It's impressive what they're doing in minimizing the size of implantable technology and having it be very effective.
It has a little pump the size of a matchstick.
Yes. It's great stuff, and I think it's a long time coming. So I keep my eye on companies like that.
All right, that is the voice of Mike Norwood, founding partner of Where's Woody? That's WEARS, Woody. He joins us as our Small Business in Focus here in Boston from the annual meeting of the Boston Chamber of Commerce. There's going to be inductees into the Distinguished Bostonians Hall of Fame later on, and we're going to be here for it. This is Bloomberg Radio.
The following is from Bloomberg View. Opinions and commentary from Bloomberg columnists.
I'm Katie Benner, a columnist with Bloomberg View. Carly Fiorina officially launched her presidential campaign, and she's running on her business record as a successful executive at AT&T and Lucent, and later on as CEO of Hewlett-Packard. She's made much of the fact that the company nearly doubled in size during her tenure from 1999 through 2005, and that she created a huge leading PC maker with a large workforce. But her numbers don't tell the whole HP story. The company's revenue doubled because she decided to buy the the PC company Compaq, a deal that was controversial even before she got it approved. The merger pushed the company deeper into computer making, which analysts were already saying was a business in decline. The deal produced no value for shareholders, and Fiorina eventually presided over so many layoffs that she was dubbed Chainsaw Carly. When Fiorina says that a decision to buy Compaq was a success, she's ignoring the fact that the current CEO, Meg Whitman, is being forced to break up HP, essentially undoing the big Compaq merger because it so deeply crippled the company. Fiorina also misjudged her ability to manage HP's famously dysfunctional board and work with them to make a better company. That was just a handful of people with whom she shared a clear directive. What evidence is there to suggest that she can deal with the divided Congress? No matter how she tries to spin it, as she runs for the GOP's presidential nomination, Fiorina was fired from HP simply because she did a bad job. I'm Katie Benner, a columnist with Bloomberg View. For more View, go to BloombergView.com.
This has been Bloomberg View. You're listening to the Bloomberg Advantage with Kathleen Hayes and Bonnie Quinn on Bloomberg Radio.
We're live at the Boston Chamber of Commerce annual meeting. Later on, some distinguished Bostonians will be inducted into the Chamber of Commerce Hall of Fame. This portion of the Bloomberg Advantage is brought to you by the CGMA, Chartered Global Management Accountant, the designation for financial professionals who help your company make tomorrow's decisions today. Empower your finance team. Learn more at cgma.org.
See, Bonnie, we've got to remind everybody of a really important and terrific show coming up tomorrow. Our own Corey Johnson, 11 a.m. Eastern. That will be 8 o'clock Pacific.
That's Friday.
That is only Wednesday.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for correcting that. I guess I'm so excited. I thought it was almost here. At any rate, there is a way. He's going to be with the founders of Refinery 29 and Group Me. And if you're in the tri-state area on Friday morning, you can come.
11 a.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Wall Street time. Just send an email with your contact information to Donna Russo. Her email address is drusso, R-U-S-S-O, at Bloomberg.net. That's drusso@Bloomberg.net. And join Corey and those wonderful guests.
You'll be able to hear it in Boston, too.
Certainly will. And in the Bay Area. We're going to turn back now to Mike Norwood, founding partner of Where's Woody, a clothing company that started with funky-coloured Jeep Grand Wagoneer named Woody and a trailer of flip-flops, literally. And now you also sell T-shirts and shirts and all sorts of other clothing. Talk to us about what's becoming ubiquitous now, the extra part of your business, which is charity-based.
Yeah, it's a big part of who we are. As I mentioned, we make great clothes, we distribute and market them in an interesting way, but the icing on that cake is our mission for diabetes, and it's a personal one. I've had the condition for almost 40 years, and I feel that having actually worked for a long time in the clinical and the medical field, that it's time that we approach the angle of trying to make some impact on the condition.
May I ask if you have type 1 or type 2?
Type 1.
Yeah, that's something to live with.
Yep. So it's a very prevalent condition. Perhaps more people know the condition type 2, but fact of the matter is that the outcomes without good control and good lifestyles are the same.
How much does it help? I mean, I have a cousin who was a diabetic, a type 1 diabetic, and it is a serious disease, unlike type 2, which for some people is very much diet related, right? But how much does it help? Let's say you want to help the cause and the mission and send money, but how much does it help say, hey, I'm a type 1 diabetic, I'm going to buy Where's Woody clothing?
It helps a tremendous amount. It adds a great amount of value to who we are. The biggest part of ingraining that mission into our brand from the get-go, I don't think can be overstated. It's not something like a corporate social responsibility type of thing where we pick something off the shelf because it's not being addressed. And quite frankly, it's shocking to me that after all these years that diabetes is as big a societal problem, a challenge that it is.
Well, give us the exact numbers of a $34 T-shirt. How much goes to diabetes?
1.5% of sales. So 1.5% may off the top not sound like a big number, but when we hit our mark with regard to sales, last year, for example, we wrote checks for a few $1,000s to local organizations that share our determination and vision for making a difference for diabetes.
We had the founder, young woman on at Stone Investment Conference, Burden Stone, who says she sees, as a young person, this is a big deal now in the whole broad field of retailing and business, socially conscious consumerism.
It is, and I can tell you that that touch point, with selling literally out of the tailgate of Woody, allows us to have a much more down-to-earth, lighthearted, fun conversation around a really serious condition. I'll refrain from using the D word, disease, but the fact of the matter is it allows people to relax and talk about something that is sometimes not a fun topic. And I think through that mechanism, we've had a great impact.
Okay. Well, you've certainly relaxed and talked with us about it. We appreciate this conversation so much, Mike.
Thank
Mike
you.
Norwood is founding partner of Where's Woody, joined by Woody Benson, Prism Ventures.
No relation.
No, but nice link. This is Bloomberg Radio. A lot more coming up in Boston.